and welcome to HR Bytes, a podcast and video series to bring you stories of HR professionals who bring a think globally and act locally digital HR agenda to their work. Everyday people who are driving digital transformations in their organizations, data driven and future fit digital HR leaders. This is your host, Jay Polaki, and today's guest is a very dear friend, Ardy Srivastava. Welcome to HR Bytes, Ardy. I'm delighted to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having Jay. It's an always pleasure to talk with you.
Absolutely. So, Ardy, tell us a little bit about your current role in the HR tech space and what's really exciting you in today's world of work.
Absolutely. So I have over decades plus experience when it comes to HR technology. Currently, I'm working with a financial platform technology company called Intuit. I'm a group technology product manager here. I'm overseeing COEs of total rewards and HR shared services. Basically, all things tech in that space, right? Prior to Intuit, I have been working with Levi Strauss and Company, where I was responsible for the entire HR tech stack and including legal tech stack as well. Prior to Levi's, I have some consulting experience as well. Again, everything, I am a HR tech individual. Everything in HR, whether it started from SAP, I've seen PeopleSoft, now Workday, ServiceNow, you name the platforms. That's where my area of expertise lies, right? And I look through the entire employee life cycle, whether it's right from the candidate experience to until the exit.
Absolutely. And I know you're a newly minted author as well. So we'll mention that a little bit towards the middle of the show, because I'd really like the audience to learn more about your book. So, Ardy, I wanted to begin the conversation by talking about how leadership today is asking every team to do more with less. And, in this current scenario, adoption of technology by HR teams for all aspects of the function is inevitable. How do you think, in today's world of work, HR leaders are handling these challenges when it comes to adoption of tech in our function? And what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that HR leaders should definitely, focus on when it comes to the technology challenges for HR?
I think in today's world, the number one skill set which HR leaders should focus on is reskilling of their workers. So when I say reskilling, it's learning about AI. We all hear every day what new inventions we hear from generative AIs or any new development in that space, right? So I think reskilling should be the number one priority for all our HR leaders. Second thing, hey, you have to be aware that change is the only constant, right? With that, your workforce also needs to be mature enough, evolve more enough, right? They should be able to see technology as they're making them more productive versus hindering their progress, right? Again, tied to reskilling, right? And the thirdly, which I emphasize a lot in even in my book and everywhere I do a talk, is we should, as HR leaders, should, when it comes to technology, take a long-term product-based approach, right? So productization of HR. This is why I focus a lot on, right? Have that roadmap rather than being at that knee-jerk reaction, fixing a short-term solution or providing a small bandage or a fix to a short-term solution. So I would say those two, to sum up, those two areas, reskilling and long-term thinking would be my point of view.
And, as we grapple with all of this reskilling and the chat GPT universe that's been, thrown wide open to us at the beginning of the year, we have been tasked within the HR function to provide this individualized, engaging, consumer grade experience for all our employees. I mean, they get this outside the workplace, so we definitely need to make sure that they're having those same kinds of experiences within the workplace. How do you think HR teams have, handled the mindset of making everything personalized and individualized and consumer grade for our employees? And how do you think that they've kind of handled not buying every shiny new technology in the HR tech space for attaining that very specific goal?
Yeah, I think the companies and enterprises I speak with, they have welcomed this mindset of product-based HR technology deployment, right? That really pushes you to think of why you need a particular tech stack, right? Which basically the how the company can make sure you provide personalized experiences by providing them employee journey maps, right? So again, going back to that product management principles, you think why of an employee, whether it's your candidate who just saw a job posting on LinkedIn about your a job posted about a company, what is that tech experience you're offering to that candidate when he or she clicks the apply button? To your employee in their day-to-day task, right? Even let's talk about HR agent, how they do their day-to-day job or answering employee queries. How digitally transforming is that? I mean, including your product, I believe that offers that, right? A seamless and a flawless experience, right? And right from through the exit interviews, right? Even an employee when they are going, when they become an alum of your company, right? You need to have an alumni portal, right? Which just tells you that you value them. You offer them that consumer-like experience. So it's in every work day of the employee and your future potential candidate or your exited employee. So that to me is offering that experience in the entire life cycle of an employee.
Absolutely. Those boomerang employees are definitely employees we don't want to let go,
Yeah.
especially given the talent wars that are happening in today's world of work. So Ardy, you've been in the HR tech space for such a long time, and you've built products for huge enterprises and mid-sized companies as well. What role did your social capital, that's your connections within the organization, play in, helping you generate, incubate, and scale innovation in the HR function?
It's all about networking, whether it's internal or external. Right? I think a part of the reason my programs or my products have been successful is I have always had an internal collaborative partners, right? Whether it was my COE partners or my IT teams, right? At the end of the day, we all are focused on our customer problems. For us, everyone in HR, our employees are our customers, right? So it's really important to have your all cross-functional stakeholders, partners focused on that vision, that goal. And ultimately, that's your, I can say, backbone or a key factor of success of any HR programs in an enterprise.
Absolutely. And as a segue to my next question, we are seeing so much data being thrown at us today, where HR is reshuffling budgets to digitize more. That whole concept of doing more with less by adopting technology. But this balancing act of how we in the function are digitizing while keeping the human experience in check, right? How do we make this work for us without totally automating everything and making this such a robotic experience for everyone all around? What Where do you see HR focusing and digitizing while keeping that human touch for all of our projects and work?
Yeah, again, I whenever we deploy products, we do keep a principle in mind, like human-centric design or interfaces, right? So you can never take away human touch, whether it's even if you go 100% virtual, even we go in metaverses, at the end of the day, it's all about human beings and our employees, right? So that's where, as a HR technologist, your product team comes in play. That how you can make that handover or the interface and the connections when a user is having, in our case, employee is having with the technology, right? How personalized, how interactive is that, right? I know even in today's world, we want everything ideally to be automated, right? For example, if you're answering a employee query, right, you may have a chatbot deployed. A chatbot can pull up your knowledge base, look up, can answer your questions, right? But at the same time, the principle of human-centered uh, interface or a design would be you still provide an opportunity to an employee if he or she wants to speak to a HR agent. There should be a way. So that's how you balance it off, right? Because not every time there can be situations, right? Especially during an employee life cycle, he or she is going through some crisis, having a, let's say, a new child, right? They may still want to speak to their benefits team, right? That's where chatbot doesn't come are in place. So it doesn't provide you 100% human-centric employee experience. So is that a fine line? You cannot make it 100% automated. There is no harm in doing that. I'm all for automation, right? Uh, but do provide them a mechanism or a way that there is some human touch still out there.
Absolutely. I always say that HR cannot be 100% automated, but it has to be automated. It's inevitable. So we still have the H in HR. That's the human that has to be kept alive in all of this design. So my last question, Ardy, is around data. As there is this huge push on using all the data that we have in HR today that we haven't utilized to our advantage, and using the data to make data driven decisions has become one of the I don't know, the champion calls for all our HR professionals today. What do you think HR professionals should be doing when it comes to data literacy, and how should they be going about that?
I think people analytics is the field which is just exploring, right? In everything we do, even in the journey which I was referring earlier in the call, right? Employee journey cycle, every phase, whether it's onboarding, you need data like time to hire, just an example, right? It will tell you how a particular HR technology is doing, or even how a particular HR process is doing, right? If you move to HCM, you need data around your compensation, right? To make sure how well your employees are paid, right, in a particular location, right? Similarly, if you move on to a different phase of HR employee experience, you need data for each and every phase. How we can keep on upskilling. Again, going back to my reskilling guidance, right? The only way is to reskill, continue uh, taking some part-time courses, right? And the best way to do it is to do it with your hands-on, right? Again, do not get overwhelmed by data, right? Uh, I think it's just matter of doing it, and it's just matter of time where everyone will make data-driven decisions. That's my vision, or that's my hope, right? Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. That's great advice for all our HR colleagues out there. So that brings us to the funner part of our conversation. It's called the question connection, and I have theme music for it too, which we'll play during the podcast. So, who is one person you've gained in your network in the last year that you think more people should know about in the HR tech space?
I think everyone already knows, but I've been really inspired by Josh Bersin's his book. I recently read his book Irresistible, so great admirer of Josh for sure. Again, I have met you in the last year, so I would definitely recommend users to know your work, right? Your product.
Thank
That's the second recommendation I would make, right?
well,
And lastly, I am also reading a book by Jessica Zwaan called Built for People, right? It's again talks about a topic which I am passionate about, like how you can apply product management when it comes to building great employee experience. So those three would be my recommendations.
Well, thank you for including us. We really appreciate that. And that was my next question too. Your favorite HR podcast or HR book? So you mentioned the book, and I really wanted to talk about the book you've written. It's called Product and Delivery Practices for HR Technology and Digital Employee Experience. Tell us a brief overview of what you've written and how we should be receiving this book.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wrote this book right before pandemic, right? During pandemic, I never got a time to get it out, right? So my whole goal and agenda was that, hey, when I joined in HR tech space about 14, 15 years back, right? I had no book or no guidance. How should I go about it? Right. So I really wanted to take my decades of knowledge, put it down on a book which will last for next decades. It's for anyone who is stepping into HR tech space, right? And they just want to learn about the HR tech space, how it spanned out from decades, 1980s. I talk about the entire journey. And again, my point of view, how I see HR tech will evolve in next decade or so, right? So it's really providing that. It's over like until it includes all the programs I had done before joining like into it, right? 2019, right? When I worked for Levi's, Accenture, ESRI, right? Using all my HR tech programs, I did create my own frameworks, right? My own guidelines that how should I go about a particular HR tech product or how a particular HR tech program can be a success. So I took all my learnings, whatever little bit I have learned in my career, and tried to put it out. And yeah, I mean, just sharing that was my whole goal of writing this book, just sharing my knowledge.
Wonderful. And where can our audience find this book? Is it available online?
Yeah, it is only at this point of time, it's only an ebook. It can be found on Agile People Ops Framework.
I'll,
That's the publisher.
I'll link that in the show notes for anyone who wants to find the book. Our next question: what's your favorite LinkedIn Learning or e-learning webinar series for HR technology or HR?
I have to say again, I'll go back to I've been listening a lot of Josh Bersin these days, right? So I continue listen him in on my Apple podcast, right? I do also read a lot of Gartner material. That's I follow a lot, and sometimes Harvard Business Review. Those are also mine. So if I have to say one material, if I have to pick you, it's like HBRs is my favorite.
Wonderful. And we'll link that in the show notes as well. How do you enjoy giving back to the HR community, Ardy?
By being on podcasts like this, right, writing white papers in my spare time if I get, and of course, my book was an attempt to give back. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being on our podcast today, HR Bytes. We really appreciate our time. And I'm sure our audience have some great takeaways from this conversation as well. So thank you for being here. And we'll see you on the next episode of HR Bytes. Have a great day, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you for having me, Jay. Have a good one.